gets it off. Steve DeBryan with the ball. Three-pointer on the way. Somebody's shoulders. Pella Christian erases some painful memories from 1989. And they keep 1996 perfect. Now on the season with a 67-49 win over the Little Dutch. We'll be back with post-game activities after this.
Tonight's district basketball game on the new 92 FM is brought to you by
Pella Roofing. We're giving flat roofs a good name. Pella Roofing, flat roof specialist, featuring the single-ply rubber roof system since 1977. Inga's for her in the Pella Square and the exciting new spring line. Style plus value equals Inga's. Inga's for her.
With the amount of experience and so forth, it went according to the way it probably, the way that it probably should have gone.
Again, the final margin on the scoreboard, a bit deceptive as Pella Christian got some extra points at the end to make it an 18-point ball game, 67-49. Pella Christian led by 12 in the first quarter. It was 10 at the end of the first quarter. Pella fought back in that second quarter, made it a 5-point ball game at halftime, so it definitely was a very competitive contest. Third quarter, Pella Christian started to stretch things out a little bit, had a 12-point lead at the end of the third quarter, 52-40, and then Pella Christian, of course, really put things together in the fourth quarter, slowly pulling away, and their 18-point margin of victory was their biggest lead in the ball game.
And they did it with the increased the lead in the fourth quarter with Chad Dielman in there, Mark McGorp and Brent Geeding both in foul trouble, and I believe both came in at the 3:23 mark left in the ball game. So a credit to those guys too, in that they played good basketball. Probably not. The offense tonight wasn't as smooth as what it is at particular times, but when you use 8, 9, 10 kids, I think that's going to happen.
Pella Christian winning tonight by 18 points, 67-49. The Pella High boys close out the year 9-11, as they sure had a tough act to follow. A state runner-up finished last year at the Vets Auditorium in Des Moines. A very tough act to follow. And again, I think this year is certainly a valley between two very high peaks.
Oh, I think that's got to be true. We mentioned that a couple of times during the course of the evening, Paul, with the young athletes that they have, and with Smid coming back and Bouster having played as much as he did this year, Kevin Pothoven coming off the bench to play, and then you take some fine sophomores and put those all together. It may take them a while next year to get things organized to who's going to play where and who's going to be in the fill-in spot and play the number 6 and 7 spot. But they're going to have a fine team, and they will be in the upper echelon of the South Central Conference. There's no doubt about it.
Certainly this year, although a sub-500 record for Pella is certainly not what you would call a season lost or a season wasted, they were very close, in fact, to winning the South Central Conference. Their close losses this year just piled up one on top of another. And George Wares pointed out to me earlier today when I visited with him, they were 6 points away, if you can add a couple points here and there to a given ball game, 6 points away from the conference championship. So this season certainly was not a void, a null and void. And I'll tell you what, if there's one thing that Coach George Wares can always do, he can have fun with the game of basketball. And his players enjoyed the season tremendously, and I know they had a lot of fun this year. And I guess when it all comes down to it, you want to be competitive, you want to win, you want to have an enjoyable experience. And I don't think anybody on the Pella team will tell you they didn't enjoy this season.
Well, and I think that's so important, Paul. I think sometimes with so many people following athletics so enthusiastically that can be forgotten, that the emphasis on the winning is so important. And it shouldn't be that way. They're high school kids, and they have to enjoy the season too. And I think that's probably a credit to Coach George Wares in that those kids do have fun. I think 5 years from now, when they look back at it, they'll be proud to have been a Pella Christian basketball or a Pella athlete. So, and I think that's important. Pride is important, and I think that's important too. And you know, whatever they do beyond, whether they go on to school, find a job after their high school years, or whatever it might be.
Pella Christian boys now 2 victories away from a trip to the state tournament, but Jerry Nickel will have no talk of a second game, I'm sure. He is certainly one that likes to focus on the next game, which you have to do at tournament time. But Jerry won't even humor me when I ask him. He refuses to look past the next game. He won't even humor me.
Yeah, well, that's what you have to do. I know that's an old cliche that you take them one at a time, but you can't play in that second or third one down the road in a single elimination tournament like we have here in Iowa. It used to be that in girls athletics, and they're getting away from that a little bit, but it used to be that in district competition, that if you were the champion or the runner-up, you went on since you got a second chance. And that's never been true in boys athletics. If you've got the real good team and you happen to have an off night and get beat, you sure wish that there'd be double elimination, but that's not the way it is. And of course, you know, not always do the best teams get into the state tournament. I don't think that's what that's all about. I guess then they'd have to go with the rating system, and whoever won the most ball games of the top 10 teams in victories should be at the state tournament. But I think then you take a lot of the excitement away from a local game like this as well. And let's face it, this is a big money maker for the association. You get this Central College gym packed with all these Pella people, and all that money goes up to Boone, and I'm sure they just smile when the check rolls in, or the cash rolls in, or money order, or however they do it. I don't even know that. So, but it's a beneficial game as far as finances for the association. You know that. I'm sure it's got to be one of the top crowds across the state of Iowa as far as a district semifinal in a night like tonight.
We're awaiting a visit with both head coaches, Jerry Nickel and George Ware, scheduled to come up and visit with us after the game. And I see George headed down the catwalk now up in the upper climbs of Kuiper Gymnasium on the Central College campus. And we'll get a chance to visit with George here in just a minute.
Paul, and I'll turn this mic over to George.
Gord Van Zanten heading out, and Gord will be back with me tomorrow night as Pella Christian takes on either Sheraton or Centerville in a district final matchup. George Wares is with us now, and Coach Wares, certainly a fantastic effort by the Little Dutch. The final score will seem a bit lopsided just on the numbers, but very competitive ball game, and your Little Dutch certainly gave it everything they had.
Yeah, I'm pleased with our effort, and I want to congratulate Pella Christian. They obviously met the challenge. They got in some foul trouble, and some kids came off the bench and did a nice job for them. And you're right about the final score. It doesn't really matter. 1 or 18, it's a loss. They go on, and our season's done, and we wish them luck the rest of the way.
You mentioned in our pregame chat that you were worried about a quick start by Pella Christian. They did have a good first quarter, took a 12-point lead at one point and led 19-9 after the first quarter. But the Pella boys had a good second quarter. You were able to fight off that run early, and you got back into the ball game, and it was a 5-point game at halftime. How did you feel going into the locker room, and what did you tell your guys at halftime?
We felt very good. We thought Pella Christian might come out very pumped up for the game and really take it to us early. And we said if that happens, we've got to try to meet the challenge of that run, and I thought our kids did that. And at halftime, we honestly thought we were going to win the basketball game. I don't think there was any question in the minds of our players, and obviously Pella Christian did some nice things, but we just said we wanted to go inside against them. We did not think, I guess in the first half, we found out that maybe we gave their post defense more credit than we should have, and we were afraid to go after some of those big kids. And we just wanted to challenge them inside because they were playing behind us and really not doing much against us defensively. And I thought Bruxford and Mike and Wade did a nice job attacking them.
You mentioned coming into the ball game you were concerned with Pella Christian's offensive rebounding, and that proved to be a very valid concern. Unofficially, I have them down for 10 points off offensive rebounds and putbacks. It was 10 or 12, but at any rate, that was obviously a big factor.
Yeah, and I thought even then we did a pretty nice job of screening him out most of the time. I know the first half we lost Klein, and he was our biggest concern because he shoots so often away from the perimeter, and he's so quick to the basket. It's hard to go out and find him, but for the most part, we did a pretty good job. But they're so darn good at that part of the basketball game that that still turned out to be the difference.
As you look ahead now to next year for Pella High, to say the future is bright, I think would be an understatement given the amount of playing time your juniors got this year. Juniors really forming the core of your team, and the sophomore Mike Foster. And then you've got Bill Lubach's undefeated sophomore team that will graduate some players to the varsity level. Look ahead to next year for us. What kind of season do you see for the Pella boys?
Well, we obviously are very optimistic. We were optimistic going into this year. The only difference is next year we're going to be able to put more experience on the floor at the beginning of the season. And some of the kids that have played a lot are going to be challenged because we do have a good group of sophomores. And we've got a couple of juniors or so on the bench that didn't play very much, that if they work on some things this summer, they're going to challenge for some playing time. So we're pleased with some of the things that happened this year, and we're obviously very optimistic not only about next year but the next couple of years for Pella High basketball.
Had a tough act to follow from last year. Didn't second place finish at the state tournament, but a very entertaining season. I felt the Pella Little Dutch always put on a good show for the crowd, well, most of the time anyway. And as Gordon and I talked a little bit in the post-game show, I don't think there was ever any doubt that any of your players didn't enjoy themselves this season.
I think we had a great time, and that's one of the things we strive for. Last year, second in the state, that was one of our main goals, and this year with a 9-11 record, that's still something we want, and we hope to continue that the next few years as well.
Congratulations, George, on a great season, and good luck with the Central softball girls.
Okay, thanks a lot.
George Ware is the head coach for the Pella Little Dutch, and he makes way now for Jerry Nichols. Talk on our post-game show. We'll also have a chance to visit with Troy Vandermolen and Eric Hothoven from the Pella Christian Eagles. Jerry, the Pella Little Dutch gave you everything you wanted tonight, as we thought in watching you in the fourth quarter. When Woody Klein went back door and got that easy basket, it seemed like all the tension and the concern that was built up in you came out all of a sudden. You were off the bench with your hands up in the air. Was that when you first felt good, felt comfortable that this ball game was locked away?
Yeah, I felt very comfortable at that point. I felt comfortable all night long as we had them down by about 10 points. And then pretty much the second half we had that. I think they had a chance to go to 7 one time in the fourth quarter. I don't know if they got the job done. But I was a little disappointed in the first quarter after we had them down as far as we did, that we let them get back in before the halftime. But part of that was because we had some foul trouble inside. We had to get some people to the bench, and that hurt our effort a lot, I thought. I didn't think we got one call all night long on the floor. I yet to see that happen to us all year, but I didn't like what I was seeing on the floor tonight.
Offensive rebounding was a big key tonight for your guys, as we had you for 10 points off offensive rebounds and putbacks, and you knew that was an area where you should do well, could do well, and it certainly proved to be true.
Well, as I told the kids in the locker room after the game, Paul, I just feel this way. With the kind of an inside game that we have and the supporting cast on the perimeter, that's what wins our ball games. I really felt what won this game for us tonight was the defense we played in half number 2. According to our shot charts, and I'll have to check this out more perhaps in detail, but I'm looking at it right now, and it is true. Pella got 3 field goals in the third quarter and 3 in the fourth. And anytime you can hold somebody to 6 field goals and a half, and those were all 2-pointers, that's 12 points. And you beat people when they only scored 12 points a half on you from the field. And had they not been able to go to the free throw line 29 times, I don't think that the score would have been nearly as close as it was. They gave a valiant effort. They came out and played their style of game, which did shock me a little bit. I thought they were going to try some other things, but they didn't. So I was pleased with the way they came out and wanted to play the full court game with us. That made me feel pretty relaxed right from the start. And then, as I said, I was a little concerned with the way we let them back in the second quarter. But I thought our defense in half number 2 was the difference in the ballgame.
Tomorrow night, you'll play in the district final right back here at Central College. You'll take on either the Sheraton Chargers or the Big Red from Centerville. Odds are it'll be Sheraton. As good
99.5%.
As good a basketball as they've been playing, although they're down at Centerville tonight, so that certainly has to work in the Big Red's favor. But at any rate, Tomorrow night you have to bring your team back up. After this emotional victory, you have to come right back 24 hours later and get up for a district final. That's got to be tough.
Well, I don't see any problem. You know, this was the game right here. These kids have been playing all summer for a year, just getting ready for this particular ball game. The one beginning of the year was nice, but this is the one that's the icing on the cake because of last year. So I think what we'll see tomorrow night is we're going to see our team come in and play relaxed basketball and get back with it. You know, I thought tonight we did a few things on the court that we don't normally do, but that's what happens in tournament play. And I thought we had a couple times when we had a couple mental lapses by people that you know, we have to take care of. And I really think that now that this one is out of the road, that we'll play with a much more relaxed atmosphere. Don't get me wrong, Sheraton's a good ball club. They'll come in and play hard, but I feel a lot better going into the Sheraton game than I would going into tonight's ball game, even with back-to-back.
Congratulations, Nick, and let's get your backcourt over here.
Thank you very much.
Terry Nickel, head basketball coach for the Pella Christian boys, and starting backcourt for the Eagles set to come over. Troy Vandermolen joins us right now. Troy, you came out early and knocked down a three-pointer for the Eagles, but then the shooting hand kind of cooled off for you tonight, but played a good floor game. Did you expect this kind of effort from the Little Dutch? I'm sure you fellas knew that it wasn't going to be like that season opener.
Yeah, we knew that they were a very improved team throughout the year. We thought they were battling and either in or winning a lot of their games, so we knew they'd come out strong. And we knew that they'd come out and start big, so it was the emphasis for us to come out and stop them right at the start. And I don't know, I think that's the story of our team, that we can come out, and if one of us isn't on, the rest are, and we can somehow, you know, just come out and play well.
Coach Nickel was especially impressed with the defense that the Eagles played in the second half, holding Pella in the second half to just, I believe, 20 points overall in the ball game and just a few shots from the field. Would you size that up as one of your best defensive performances of the season?
Well, we always stress that defense is an important part of our game. We feel that if we play good defense, we can beat anyone, and especially holding them to 6 field goals in the second half. I think that was a big key for us, and yeah, I'd have to say that was a good defensive effort on everyone.
Tomorrow night, you'll have the district final right back here. Do you foresee any problem with the team getting back up emotionally after such an emotional victory over Pella?
I don't think so. We always want to come out and get right on top of our teams, and we know that Sheraton's got a big front line. We're expecting to meet them. We don't know yet, but we think that if we come out hard and work, we can win, and that's our goal, to go far, and it's going to start tomorrow night again as we face either Sheraton or Centerville.
Congratulations, Troy. Let's get Eric over here now, if you can pass the headset along. Eric Pothoven, sophomore point guard for the Pella Christian Eagles, set to join us. Eric, you're a sophomore out there in a world of seniors. How does it feel to be an underclassman and kind of be running the show? It's up to you to get things rolling and get the ball to the seniors.
It feels pretty good. My job is to bring the ball down and get the offense going and get it inside to Mark and Brent and Woody to get most of the points. And so it's good to know that I help out in that area.
You had a good offensive night as well tonight. Some nights you were more effective with the assist, if that's what's there. Tonight you had more opportunities to score and had 19 points. So when you go into a ball game, do you feel, well, this is going to be a good passing night for me, or this is going to be a good shooting night, or you just kind of wait to see how it happens?
Just basically wait to see what happens and see what the defense gives me, and then go from there.
Ask you the same question about tomorrow night as you play probably Sheraton, maybe Centerville, back here at Central in the district final. How do you come back from such an emotional victory? 24 hours, you have to get fired up again.
Just have to go home and get some rest and come back tomorrow and go over what Sheraton does and be ready to play them tomorrow night.
Congratulations on a big victory, Eric.
Thank you.
Eric Pothoven, point guard for the Pella Christian Eagles. In the ballgame individually, top scorer Ryan Woody Klein with 23 points, 19 for Eric Pothoven, the young man we just visited with. Mark Van Gorp had 12 points, including 8 in the second half for Pella Christian. Brent Giedings with 4 points, Brad Wienia with 4 points, Troy Vandermolen had 3, and Chad Dieleman had 2 points. For the Pella boys tonight, Randy Smith led the way with 19 points. Mike Balter had 12, 9 points for Rob Bruxford, 6 points for Wade Van Dyke, and 3 points in the ballgame for Brad Rimpey. Final score tonight, Pella Christian 67 and Pella 49. The Pella boys close out their season with a 9-11 record. Pella Christian improves to 20-0, and they will advance to play in a district final tomorrow night here at Central College against probably Sheraton, maybe Centerville. We'll wait and get the final score on that, and we'll let you know first thing tomorrow morning on our 7:20 Sportscast. We'll have that ball game for you tomorrow night, Centerville or Sheraton. Just doesn't matter. We'll be here for the district final at Central College Kuiper Gymnasium. We'll be on the air at 6:45. Tip-off is set for 7 o'clock. Signing off for Gord Van Zanten, this is Paul Clark, thanking you for joining us tonight on KRLS. Post-game activities brought to you by Midtown Tire on the Square in Pella, featuring on-the-farm service, brake work, alignments, and Pella's best selection of quality tires. Paul's Mastercraft, Sigma, and more. See Irwin and Terry at Midtown Tire, west side of the Pella Square. Eagles win it 67-49. For KNIA KRLS Sports, Paul Clark wishing you a very pleasant Thursday evening.